Hello, friends, and welcome to our Sunday streaming services. If you're with us on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and subscribe to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us here on Zoom, hello, welcome here. Drop a hi in the chat. We would love to say hi back to you. And if this is your first time here, head on over and sign our guest book at oakcliffeu.org/guest. Today's sermon is Awakening with B.B. Gafford. A reminder that we are reopening our church on December 5th. Finally, right? For those who feel safe doing so, come join us in person. Mask and social distancing are required. Want to keep everybody safe. If you do not feel safe doing that yet, don't worry. We're not leaving you on Zoom. We will be here every week still. But if you are comfortable, we'd love to have you. And you know what that means. The thing that you've missed probably the most about church, coffee service, right? If you can help with coffee service in any way, please contact Johnny Chapman. I know she'd love to help. Workday Wednesdays are back. So if you would like to help, get the church ready for reopening and other such projects, join us every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We'll feed you. I know that you've gotten a couple of emails about our pledge event. If you've been kind of putting them off, ignoring them a little bit, I'll get to it later. Now's the time to go ahead and do it. As you probably recall, we fill out these pledge things every year. So even if nothing's changed, just go ahead and fill it out so that we have it. And this year's extra special because we are trying to raise some money to hire a minister. So if you've got a little extra to give, we'd really appreciate it. All right, I always tell you to check out the e-blast, but this week, really check out the e-blast because there's so much in it that I wasn't able to fit into these short announcements. Lots of stuff going on at our church, lots of stuff coming up at our church. So go read the e-blast. It's all in there. Today is Sunday, so I hope that you will join us at 11:15 for Talkback, a chance to chit-chat with your friends here at church about the sermon or whatever else is going on. And if you'd like to talk at a different time, you can always join us on Discord throughout the week. All right. Member anniversaries. Got a couple of great ones for you. Everybody give a very warm happy UUCOC anniversary to Clint Chamberlain and James Fairchild. All right, happy anniversary, you two, and to everybody else, and you two, a very happy Sunday.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff. Thank you for having the curiosity and the courage to join us. We welcome you, whoever you are, whatever spiritual tradition, gender, age, race, sexual orientation, or background you may bring to our community. We hope you will find here comfort, connection, challenge, respect, and above all, love.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
The Heart of Our Faith by Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together.
Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance and service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together.
And now in Spanish. Porque nos amamos uno al otro, honramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y acepción, así que hacemos pacto.
We share our sorrow with one another, believing that a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved. Today, we also hold in our hearts the shared grief of our hurting planet. At this time, we invite you to publicly post your sorrows and prayer requests to our Zoom chat or send those to our Facebook Messenger.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
We also share our joys with one another, believing that a shared joy is a joy doubled. Today, we take special time to celebrate our connection to all life everywhere. Please share your joys publicly in the Zoom chat or send those to our Facebook Messenger or speak those aloud.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirs of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Well, good morning, beautiful souls. It is, as always, a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, albeit virtually. My name is Bibi, and I'm a spiritual coach licensed through the Centers for Spiritual Living. As many of you know, I grew up in the Islamic tradition. However, I now adhere to a practical spirituality that draws from many traditions. We're indeed experiencing challenge. These are challenging times. And many of us, if not all of us, have been touched in some way or fashion by what is happening out there. We've lost loved ones. People are experiencing financial challenges, losing their jobs, or even basically having our movements restricted. And so what I thought today would be some aspect of consciousness and where we are with our consciousness, and we could identify it, examine it, look at the process of conscious awakening or awakening to live a more conscious life, and apply that in our lives. Or basically, you know, what I've learned and how I'm moving and how I'm navigating. And so I'll share that with you. And a big part of it has to do with consciousness. So I thought today we'll just define what it is for the purposes of what I'm talking about, and then look at phases of consciousness. And in looking at the phases of consciousness, you could identify where you are, and then connect that with the experience we're having, and then contemplate where we are, what we could do to move ahead from that space, and also to look at the collective consciousness, right? So individually, as an individual, where am I consciously? And then as a collective, seeing the differences in consciousness and how we are navigating as a collectively. So before I start, I wanted to share a couple quotes with you, which would encapsulate the talk, basically the meaning of what we're talking about. When I was researching the talk, I found quite a few good references and quotes, and I love to include these in when I talk. So a quote from Rumi: "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself." Quintessential Rumi. And then Einstein. So we're mixing it up. We have Rumi, and then we have Einstein. "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." And I thought that was apt to begin the talk with these two quotes and talk about consciousness. So when I'm talking about consciousness, what do I mean? So to be conscious is to be aware. To be conscious is to be awake. So consciousness is that awareness of oneself, and oneself in relationship to the environment. So in other words, it's that thing that causes us to be aware of ourselves and the world around us. Some might refer to it as mind, others may refer to it as selfhood. But fundamentally, the question to ask is, how awake am I? I want to share a diagram with you. So when we talk about consciousness, there are fundamentally, basically 4 phases. And Michael Bernard Beckwith was who brought this into the mainstream when he started talking about consciousness and awakening and how to live an awakened life. So as you can see, there's the 4 states. And so the first state of consciousness, the to me aspect. So in this place, to me is a place of isolation, a place of victimhood. Everything happens to me. So I'm at the behest of the external world. I have no control. So I'm basically the victim of everything that happens around me. And I ask the question, why me? Right? And not only that, it's why me, I project out, I blame others, I blame the environment, I blame, there's a lot of projection outwards with blame. There's no accepting of responsibility. And in this place, it's the first place which a lot of people will go, oh, well, I'm not a victim. Well, it's the place to be when we are, it's the starting place where we are realizing or asking the question, why me? And that why me question could then prompt us when life gets uncomfortable enough, when the situation we're in doesn't work for us anymore, then we could start moving, start questioning, and then realize that there's more to life than being the victim of life. And we could realize that there's something out there, and we could begin doing things, right? So we realize there's something out there, and I can align with that something out there, and then I become a doer. So now when you move out of the why me or the to me state and move into questioning and asking, and then realizing more importantly, that there is good out in the world, and I can use that good for my benefit, then you've moved into the next phase of awakening, into the for me, the phase where there's something out there for me, and I can use it to advance my life. I can use it to advance further than victimhood. But when we are, in order to move out of phase one, the to me phase, to move into the phase of knowing that there's good out there and I can use it for my good, we've got to give up something. And that thing we give up is blame. So there's an aspect of releasing blame and accepting responsibility for moving. And so when we move out into the for me phase, it's basically we become manifestors, we become doers, we go out there and we make things happen. And so when we're in this place, we start making things happen. We go out in the world and we do things, we create things, we accomplish things, right? And in the for me, you might hear people say, like in stage one, we said, why me? In stage two, you'll hear people say things like, I'm using the law of attraction. Or they realize there's a God out there, and then pray to the God out there. So we know there's some goodness, there's some force out there, and we use it, we align with it, and we manifest, we make things happen, and we're using that force. And then also, once we're in this place, we could stay very well in this place where the majority of us are, or we start doing work on ourselves, where the self-help industry comes in, or we connect with a spiritual coach, or we have a therapist, or we have mentors, and we start the churn of the inner work. And at some point, while we do all of this inner work, we start realizing that that good out there is also the good that is in here, that it flows in me. And when it's flowing, when we realize it's flowing through me, or through us rather, then we have gone into this third stage or this third phase of awakening, which is through me. So we are open portals, we surrender to what is, we allow whatever that good is through us. So the God out there then becomes the God inside. So we're more intuitive, we're more receptive, we're more accepting. And then in this place, we have serendipitous moments happen. And so we are more compassionate, we're more kind, we understand that there's a goodness that flows through us. The goodness is out there as well, as in the for me stage, but that goodness is not just out there, that it flows through me. And so in alignment with through me, you'll hear things like, I'm in the flow, I'm experiencing serendipitous moments. And so the God in the sky, like I said before, is now the God within. We become less reactive, more responsive. We are in the flow. And at some point, we start embodying this goodness to such a point that we are unifying with it. And so we're unifying with life. And it's at this point when we unify with that goodness that we have entered phase 4. So what is phase 4? Phase 4 is the as me, the unified stage, the stage where we experience connection with all that is and oneness. You've heard that term oneness, where we one with everything. For me, I experience that oneness when I'm spontaneously when I'm meditating, when I'm in a clear state of, from level 3, receptivity, and then I feel this knowing that I know everything, that I love everything, that I'm one with everything. Whereas in 3, we are in through me, stage 3, we are trusting. In stage 4, we know. There's this knowing, this unifying. We unify with the field of love, with the field of goodness, with the greater aspect of life. And so everything becomes divine. So it's in this place where we are truly connected, and we recognize that the good we seek, we are that good. So there's not something we have to go out and push against. There's not something we are victim to. There's not something flowing through us. We've just not perfectly, we've unified with the force of creation, the force of all that is nature, call it what is, the isness. And it is in this place that we recognize that everything is sacred. And so moving from this place where there is the movement, just life itself becomes sacred. So like I said, an example of level 4 is I experience oneness. I feel a feeling of connection with everything. I have a state of bliss. So there's that state of bliss that runs through us no matter what is going on out there. So that's all well and good, BB, but how do I apply that? What is, what about it is relevant to today? So simply put, how we view the world, world is from our state of consciousness. So because my state of consciousness creates the filter through which I interpret reality, right? So if I interpret reality as being out of my control, there's nothing I can do, then I'm in stage 1. And so I see the world as being against me, right? That's stage 1 thinking. And so it's very clear how I view the world, the filters through which I view the world, my mental paradigm, then create my experience. So here's the BB spin on that whole process I showed you. It isn't a linear process. It isn't a step, up. Once we recognize those phases and once we've experienced them, we can pop into any of those phases at any time, depending on our circumstance, depending on the work we've done around certain circumstances, right? For instance, I could be really in victimhood with relationships. I could go, here another relationship ends, and why does this always happen to me, right? Or we could go, I can align with the good and I create my life. And therefore, because that relationship ends, doesn't mean the next relationship will have that same experience. And then I can move into level 2 and go, okay, I'll do the inner work. And as I do the inner work, the flavor of my relationships change. And then as I've done this inner work and flow, am in the flow, I experience reciprocal relationships, if that's what I want, right? And then as I unify with the field and am one with everything, a relationship may come and go. It doesn't affect me in that way of being less than, or in that way of being a victim, or in that way of here we go again, because now I understand that we're all on this journey together and we are each that expression of love, that expression of spirit, that expression of life. And we are all on these journeys, and some journeys happen together for a while and independently. So that's one example. And then collectively looking at that process now, understanding consciousness, then we can look at our our fellow community, our fellow Americans, and understand where we all are. And so we won't be as divisive, because if we see somebody that's blaming the government or blaming China or blaming something, then we understand that that person is going through their process and that they are in this place of blame, but at some point they will release out of it. And then we can send them compassion, we can assist, we can help. And in stage 2, we can realize, well, the pandemic is continuing, COVID is continuing, but I know that there is good coming out of it. We are learning to be in a different place. We're becoming less individualistic, more reliant on each other. And then, in level 3 and level 4, we are channeling in level 3, channeling that good that we are, and we go out as that good and go through inspired action. And then we ask, well, what is my action to take with the goodness that is flowing through me? What is it that is mine to do? And for some, it could be vaccination. For others, it could be volunteering. For others, still, it may be being one-on-one with people, being out in community and assisting and helping. And in level 4, which is kind of being that presence and moving from that space and understanding of this too shall pass, that this is an experience that is elevating my physical experience. It'll elevate my consciousness. That's it in a nutshell. Well, consciousness and where we are in it. So the question for you would be, where are you in your consciousness? Are you in victimhood, where you're blaming things? Are you in level 2, where you've realized that there's some good coming from this, there's good out in the universe, there's good out in the world, and I'm aligning with it, and I'm doing the best that I can in alignment with that, and with that knowledge of good. And then in level 3, that this good flows through me, and I am then expressing that goodness and that compassion and that kindness, and I'm doing the things that I'm inspired through inspired action coming through me, where the law of attraction just isn't outside of me and I'm using it, is now part of me, if you're a law of attraction person. And in the 4th, you are engaged as an aspect and connecting, and you're connected with all that is. And then you move from that place, being the presence, holding the consciousness, also doing and also being, and realizing the gift that you are, and the goodness that comes and the goodness that prevails eventually. So that is, in a nutshell, my message today is, where are we in our consciousness? What are we doing about it? And then what are we doing out in the world from our level of consciousness? Because individually, when we are in a space of good, that vibration is part of the collective vibration. That part is part of the collective consciousness. We are impacting each other and holding that goodness for each other, doing that good for each other, then moves us into the space by focusing on the good, moves us into that space of receptivity, into that space of knowing goodness and knowing that good comes from it. All right. So before I end, I'd love to share a quote with you, and this one is from Gandhi. So this quote from Gandhi is quite a lengthy one, and it's great to contemplate on it. We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. Well, I trust that that was food for thought, and that it, in some form or fashion, provided you with the inspiration or the motivation or the thing that you needed to hear. Take care.
one more step. We will take one more step till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word, one more prayer. We will say one more prayer till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer, one more song. We will sing one more song till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope. For we are now the keepers of the dream. To make an offering or your pledge, please go to oakcliffuu.org/donate and follow the links.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy. Así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy. Así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
May we leave this place, by Betts Winnick. May we leave this place seeking an uncharted and freely chosen way to wholeness, knowing we have companions along the way.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And now in Spanish. Encendimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevamos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside